Ahoy! Today we're taking a look at the Loki Patch 7.10 as well as the bonus balance for 7.9. We're going to start with the bonus balance and then we make our way over to the other one. The skins we've already seen, the Bakasura skin, Cold Eater is coming out as well. That's Amazon Prime thingo. But yeah, we're going for the balance part here, that's important. The first one is an Amaterasu nerf to Glorious Charge, base damage reduced from 70 to 310 to 60 to 300. And Dazzling Offense, base damage reduced from 80 to 260 to 80 to 240. So this is especially nerfing her late game, especially her ultimate there, and I think that's going to have an impact. I am surprised they're not touching the 2 at all, because I think the fact that she has so much more pressure in early game now is significant in the current meta, where she's also one of the best cards due to having that built-in sustain. But I do think that she's being touched in the first place and that she is getting nerfs is a very good change, so I'm not complaining. She definitely needed some balance tweaks. Not even only on competitive, I think even in non-competitive she was one of the highest performing guards. Then we have Cthulhu. He's getting another nerf, not really surprising there if you've been following the meta at all. Sever gets the base damage reduced from 100 to 340 to 100 to 320, just a little bit off the top there towards the end. And also the scaling is reduced from 30% to 25%. I guess with it being a frequent AoE, that makes perfect sense. Then we have Cupid, who is getting a little bit of a nerf because he's been performing very, very well. And in his case, that's just a nerf to the heal. The power scaling is reduced from 25% per heart to 20% per heart. So 75% total down to 60% total. I don't think this is a crazy nerf at all. I don't think like in the points where it matters most, like in earlier stages where you're using the heal in lane, it's going to make a big difference. In late game, obviously, it does a bit more. So I think this is a fair nerf, and it doesn't really target the reasons why he's so strong right now, but I think that's also okay. I think Cupid being a high meta hunter is not an issue. I think he's not drastically overperforming to a degree where we should heavily nerf him down or something, but rather he's just, getting some tweaks to get a little bit more in line with the other ones. Freya is getting a further nerf. Valkyrie's Discretion Ultimate getting the damage decreased from 100 to 240 to 90 to 230 per shot, basically. So a little bit of a nerf here for her once again. Hyris said they're happy with the current state of Ring of Hecate and they're happy with the state of the other mage ADCs. That surprises me. I don't think that the item in itself is completely balanced yet. I don't think that all run is balanced yet. We'll have to see over time how the statistics develop, basically. But I think especially Ring of Hecate needs further nerf that would affect these cards as well. I'm surprised that they're already happy with it, especially considering how like non-typical mage ADCs can use it as well. Like pointing at Poseidon here can utilize it very, very well at the moment still. Hunbats gets a partial reward. So the initial nerf, or the initial state that we went from when after the cooldown was nerfed was 120 at all ranks. Then it was reduced to 110 down to 90, and now it's increased again to 120 down to 100. That's because basically around the time that he got this buff, he was suddenly picked in the SPL and he was performing very, very well. So it didn't really feel as warranted anymore. So also fair change. And then we have Ram, Astro Psych, decreased the cooldown, decreased the slow duration from 2 seconds to 1.5 seconds, just so that he has a little bit less setup and he has to do a little bit more of the work, and I think that's fair. Not a direct damage change, but something that affects his damage depending on how well you play him, how well you aim. And then we're moving over to the big part, which is, of course, the Loki Rework. We got all these new skins as well. You can look at them here, but if you want to see them in more detail, I recommend you check out the patch notes review of the show itself, rather than this one, because I'm not going to look at the visuals so much. We're going to look at the numbers instead. So Loki gets multiple overhauls in different ways. The basic attack damage is increased from 0.8 scaling on the first attack down to normal 1.0 scaling again, so that you can hit with the full damage after every basic attack, which is going to be relevant because I do think that with these abilities we're going to see more attack cancels in a way, or different attack cancels rather. So this is actually going to increase the damage on every one of those cancels, which means that even if you hate the new kit, but you really like Loki's attack canceling, this is still going to kind of work for you because you get more damage out of the attack cancel again. So the passive behind you now has additional interactions with other abilities, otherwise unchanged. So you still deal more damage when you attack enemies from the back. Vanish. Loki will now fade into stealth quickly rather than instantly. So he fades away. And if he takes damage while stealth, he will be revealed for 0.33 seconds. So very brief. And it's also just like a black shadow that's revealed. So it just kind of shows the general direction. If you're already familiar with like tracking the numbers, it doesn't really make a major difference. Just a tiny bit, really. The audio has been adjusted. Friendly Loki stealth is slightly quieter, while enemy Loki stealth has an additional laughter component to find out, or to make it stand out more. I think this is useful, and it could be a bit rough for Loki, because if the laughter kind of like follows him, it also makes it a bit easier to track again. But if you look at the rest of the chains that he gets, then that's kind of offset. His stealth was just insanely strong before and kind of had to be in a way to balance the kit. And now it can take a little bit more of a backseat because the rest of his kit is going to have a lot more going on. So decoy has been removed and it's replaced with agonizing visions. Loki summons a vision of his tortured past location for 4 seconds, so relatively long. Enemies in range of the vision feel the poison themselves, taking damage and having their damage dealt reduced. This is very funny though, because the damage dealt reduction is incredibly low. It's just minus 5% for 2.5 seconds, which is a very, very low value. But at the same time, it's something, you know? This effect stacks up to 4 times, and that's where it gets interesting. If an enemy gets 4 stacks, they become blinded, allowing Loki to benefit from behind you from any direction for 3 seconds. I am not sure if the damage reduction is still applied when they are blinded. I am assuming it is. And at that point, it becomes a problem. You have massively reduced damage, like 20%, while being blinded. So if you get hit by this a lot, it actually is a pretty big deal. And the radius of this is relatively large. I think it can actually hit a full wave as well. It looks like it at least. And the ability will still body block enemies in the middle. It'll no longer taunt minions, though. It'll pull them together. So you have to clear properly. The damage here goes from 13 to 33 per tick, and I think if I saw it right, it has 8 ticks, so 2 ticks per second. So if you're trying to get out of this, you really have to be quick, and you're definitely gonna get some damage reduction applied. So it's not like the old decoy where you can just stand in at the beginning and doesn't do anything. It definitely does damage and applies negative effects to you, so you want to get out of that. And then it also has physical power scaling, so it's like 80 scaling in total if I count the numbers right, which would mean it's like, you know, round about an extra basic attack in terms of scaling, but more from the base damage. And the blinding effect here is very important, right? Because that amplifies Loki's entire damage, because 3 seconds of behind you bonus effect is as much as Loki needs to kill many targets, basically. And he can still attack cancel and everything. So this is going to be something you use a lot more. This is something you're going to use to clear probably as well. Overall, way more interesting than the old decoy, in my opinion. And you still keep those mechanics that you want from it, like body blocking and everything. And then we have Aimed Strike, which is also going to be removed and be turned into Flurry Strike. Flurry Strike, Loki unleashes a flurry of 5 dagger strikes quickly, damaging enemies. And after these 5 strikes, there's an additional strike for a final heavy strike that deals higher damage and slows the enemy. So you still have the slowing component in there. This ability can benefit from behind you, which means if you apply the 2 first, and they get 4 stacks of that, then you apply the blind effect, and then Flurry Strike will benefit from that as well. Flurry Strike deals 15 to 55 damage per quick hit, and then deals 140 damage on the final hit that comes after a wind-up. The scaling on the initial hits is 15 per hit, and then the final hit is 60% scaling. If we do the numbers here really quick, we have 5 times 55, so we have 275 from this, plus 140. So we are at 415, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And along with that, we get 5 times 15, yeah, so 75, 135% scaling. That means, in terms of pure scaling, you probably would get more damage out of basic attacking, because this entire thing takes 2 seconds. And in terms of base damage, you would get more out of this, which means it's very important. Like, this is very important to note because this applies like for agonizing visions as well. It's a lot of base damage behind this. Pen is going to be super important for Loki, I think. I feel like this may potentially mean that Pen is going to be valued more. No, actually, no, never mind. I was going to say valued more than Hydra's, but then Hydra's is also better again because Nemean is not as oppressive anymore. And it's getting a further nerf anyways. So, no, Hydra's probably gonna still be cool. The slow is 30% for 3 seconds, so also quite long. And if you attack cancel this right, then you're basically missing out on like, 2 quick attacks, three attacks roughly, because it's a 2-second channel. But then you should get another basic attack right after, at which point you're not really losing out on damage in terms of scaling anymore either, I think, roughly. So overall, I think this should be a significant damage increase in many situations. Plus, this is very nice if the enemy is getting at a distance where you cannot hit basic attacks anymore, because the Flurry Strike has a further range. This is also fantastic to clear because it's a cone attack. So overall, this is going to be a great ability. People have compared it to Da G2. I think it's different because a lot of the damage is very quick at the start. It's very front-loaded, and just that last strike is different. I don't know if you can actually cancel it and just intentionally just do the quick strikes and then go into a basic attack. Would be very funny if that's possible, but then it's probably not worth it because you probably want to get this strike then right into the basic attack, which is probably going to do more, and you would also lose the slow from it. And this can be interrupted as well, but it's going to be relatively hard, I think, because it's pretty quick as an ability overall. Like, you have to really be ready to do that. And then we have Assassinate, which has undergone a heavy adjustment to its functionality. Upon activation, Loki teleports to his ground target location. If an enemy god is within the radius, like that's the old part basically, Loki will slice that target, doing damage and crippling them for 1 second. After he teleports, he will wind up a heavier strike, damaging all enemies in front of him and stunning them. So you get this part of the damage and a cripple along with that. So up to 210 damage and then 35 of your physical power scaling. And then the heavy damage with a stun is up to 280 with 90% scaling. And it's a 1 second stun, but it's a very wide cone, so it's very easy to hit multiple targets with this if they are grouped up in any way. So you really want to keep your distance, especially with the 2 as well. And well, it keeps the old sounds, the teleport proof and warning sound, and gets an additional sound for the builder of the stun attack. I do think this ability overall sounds very interesting now as well, because you can counter it a little bit better. Aegis is definitely the way to counter it, but it's just like this separated damage that makes it nicer, where maybe you'll see people try and avoid the second part as well, but it's going to be very hard because of the cone that it has. I actually wanted to see real quick as well if they pull the sneaky on us and massively increase the damage here as well. Let's check that, because I feel like they would. So it's 450 base damage, 120 scaling before. And now we're looking at... oh, they didn't increase it that much. Now we're looking at 490 base damage and 125% scaling. So they didn't heavily increase the damage of the ultimate. But that's okay too, I think, because the real new damage is definitely the 2 as well as partially the 3, even though that's kind of, you know, that it loses something here as well with aim strike, but then you also get the basic attack change for the resets, which is going to make a big difference. So, well, you technically could just use all your abilities for attack canceling as well in a way. And I think that's going to be interesting. I think that's going to be definitely impactful. So I can see new Loki being very interested. I'm very sure there are some Loki mains that are going to be super upset because it's not the old kit, it's not the old Loki, blah, 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 blah. They would always be upset. They would always be upset unless Loki stays exactly the same. So don't worry about it. I mean, I main assassins, I main jungle, and if you want to play Loki in the jungle, where you could argue he is actually meant to be played being an assassin and all, then the new kit I think will work a lot better than the old kit, and it will be a lot more satisfying, and it will be a lot better, especially on early levels, because you can actually level your 3, you can clear with that, and you can do damage to enemies with that, something that was really not the case beforehand. So I think this is going to be very interesting. There's going to be a lot of debate, I feel, about leveling the 2, or like starting with the 2 or the 3 and stuff like that, because one ticks, but with the other one you can do damage at basic attack damage at the same time and everything. But that's for later. Either way, I think Loki's rework is nice. Then we have LGBT History Month in October, which means we're getting a bunch of flags that you're getting for free, or you can buy if you want to. UI bug fixes, just some stuff here, some fixes for Conquest, nothing major here really, I think. And yeah, then some fixes here again. If you want to read those, feel free to. But the stuff that we really want to get to is the balance changes. First of all, game modes. I don't know why it's under. Well, it's just whatever is under that. Classic Joust will be available, the Halloween version, during this event, and later we'll also get Classic. We'll get Domination back. Dominion's League of Legends. So that's gonna be very fun. If you want to play that again, there's another chance. And okay, they don't want to do Medusa's Deathmatch again. Good. And Corrupted Arena is gonna come back. Please don't bring back Medusa's Deathmatch. I hate it. Atalanta's Bow gets a nerf. And I'm gonna read this one out because it upsets me. This item was the target of a major rework in the mid-season update, with many players finding it to feel a little too strong. Mage ADCs took over the game for a few months, making it hard to see the impact of physical hunters, but we can now finally see their strength. This item is a premier 20% penetration item for hunters. Every damage class has one, and we intend to keep this item at 20%, but the rest of the stats need to feel balanced to a high pen item. So we are taking the attack speed down as well as the movement speed from the passive. Decrease attack speed from 30% to 25%. Decrease movement speed while attacking, strafing from 40% to 30% off your movement speed. Why? That's all I have to say about this. Why? It's... I'm gonna make myself bigger because I'm upset. Why Atalanta's Bow? This item is clearly meant as a niche if you're looking for an extra movement speed increase while chasing targets, and a snowball item because it only happens after you get a kill. Good, that's a niche. Why is this simultaneously the primary pen item instead of Executioner? Why does Executioner not get changed to get those 20% pen and then maybe get extra 10% pen on basic attacks or something? Then you have an item that has a lot of pen if you want to have a lot of pen, if that's your primary goal. And then Atalanta's Bow gets 10% pen, and you can keep the other stats the same, because then it's a niche item, or not a niche item even, then it's a good item for hunters that want a little bit of pen, or want to build their pen, piece it together from different items, and yeah, be effective. Out of all items, this is the worst item choice to have it on. Like, put it on Silver Branch and it's more fair. And Silver Branch is also getting a nerf. I don't understand it. I don't understand why this is supposed to be a pen item when it has a very potent passive that has a different purpose. There's no logic to putting these stats together. It's like taking their main lifesteal item, like saying Devils needs 20% pen now or something. It just makes no sense. It's like taking Brawler's Beat Stick and putting 20% pen on it and taking away the flat pen and saying that's the item that assassins should build now for pen. Why? They have Titan's Bane for pen. And other assassins have Serrated Edge that works for them, because they can make good use of the stats, even though it's a bit awkward at the moment. So they get that for pen. And others have Soul Eater and maybe build something else along with it to piece their pen together that way. They don't get like this one option for pen that also gives you huge benefits in another way. And it's the same thing for mages. If you're a mage, you're looking for Demonic Grip, you're looking for Obsidian Shard, you're looking for Soul Reaver if that's your style, you're looking for Charon's Coin if that's your style. There's different effects, different utility on different items, but they all revolve primarily around having that pen and then something else. Atalanta's Bow is, I have something else, but also a lot of pen. Zero logic to it. I'm so close to making a rant video just about Atalanta's Bow and repeating all of this and being upset about it, because it's just, I don't understand where this is coming from. I've been saying this for multiple seasons now. There is a hunter main in the balance department that just doesn't want to budge on a lot of things. And they're like, okay, yeah, Atalanta's does clearly need a nerf. Yeah, we've realized that actually hunters are not bad. Mage ADCs, yeah, they were OP, but actually hunters are all pretty good. Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. We've been told since the mid-season patch that 20% on Atalantis is probably not good. Yeah, people have told us right as the PTS came out. Let's not do that. Let's do everything else but not that, because I like Atalantis Bow. That's really how the balance for this item seems to be going. I don't understand it. I'm super happy with the rest of the patch, but this one I will not understand. All right, Silver Branch Bow. This is really small. I don't know why. So this is actually being picked up, and as such, decreased attack speed from 35% to 30%. No big surprise here. It was a very potent item, and it's still going to be a very potent one. So it's not going to make a big difference, especially for those high attack speed hunters with steroids. It's fine. Good nerf. Nothing crazy. I wouldn't nerf this item too hard because I think it's a really good item. Very interesting item as well. So minor nerf, that's fair. And I say that as somebody who uses this item as well on AA assassins and stuff like so. Like it's not me being against hunters here or something. Gladiator Shield Rework, really cool. So the stats basically stay the same. Price goes down from 2,500 to 2,400, but it's going to scale completely differently. So before it scaled with the level, right? So you had 15 plus 2 per level, so a total of 55. Now it scales with 15 plus 35% of your total protections from magical and physical items. And the threshold is also increased from 50 to 60%. I think this is actually going to be an insanely good item now. Because many solo laners easily reach like 200 protections just from magical and physical without heavily building into it at all. At which point this is already 70 plus the 15 that you get. So you're already at 85 per ability in terms of bonus damage. And then obviously if you build heavier into protections, that will increase even more. And then combine that with a Nemean Lion, which also benefits from high protections. And you're gonna be the nightmare of some characters as some characters. So if you have a King Arthur, if you have I was thinking Osiris as well because he's got a short cooldown and stuff like that. This is gonna hit heavy. This is gonna be very interesting. Problem is the enemy needs to be below 60% for it to activate still, but much better than it was before at least. And I could see some interesting builds happening with this. Probably something people would test on PTS as well. Emperor's Armor increased physical protection from 40 to 50. Yeah, it's nice, but I feel like that item is still super niche overall. Like I just, I don't know. Height of the Nemean Lion, increased protections required per stack, per block stack from 100 to 120. This is, I think, going to be a bit rough for some supports. Like if you build into items like Relic Dagger, or you're not building protection boots, protection boots don't even work well for this, but like just if you're generally like trying to get in some damage or some health items, this will make it a little bit harder to reach the third stack. So this is a fair bit of a nerf. I'm a bit surprised they're nerfing it so quickly, and this, I don't want to say so heavily, it's 20 protections, but for 2 stacks, this is already 40 protections. So yeah, I don't really know if this is already a bit too much. I would have thought like 110-ish would be balanced, but we'll see. I'm not a fan of block stacks in general, so I'm not really mad about it. Yeah, but we'll have to see how it turns out, how it plays out, how good it is now or not. The problem with this item is more that it's better for, or it's more achievable for many solos than it is for supports, I think, when it should be the other way around, I feel. But I don't really know how you would, prevent that anyways. Then we have Unher. Disperse, decrease the setup time from 0.275 seconds to 0.15 seconds. And then decrease the leap time from 0.975 seconds to 0.85 seconds. So he jumps quicker, and the jump itself is quicker. This surprises me because I think Anhur is, kind of a bit balanced by the speed of this jump. Gives you a bit of time to avoid his combo, because otherwise if he gets you knocked up and then puts the pillar behind you and intues you and you can't really do anything. We'll see how much of an impact it'll have. It depends a lot on how exactly these numbers feel in game. Apollo gets the same thing, and it annoys me because Apollo already has an instant mess, and now they're increasing the escape speed as well, and I think that's unnecessary. I think Apollo needs probably some more damage somewhere, but I don't think he needs more escape potential because he has plenty of that. Setup time decreased from 0.233333 seconds to 0.15 seconds, and the dash time decreased from 0.65 seconds to 0.58 seconds. She travels the same distance in less time and starts traveling quicker. Same concept as with Anher. Don't know. He's not super meta, so I guess it's okay. Ares, interesting one. Bolster defenses. Oh, I actually wanted to look up this one as well how long the aura lasts. So what it gets now... Ares, this way. What it gets now is increased defense. Let's see. Okay, lifetime 8 seconds. Yeah, okay, that's not too bad. So you get up to 40% protections. And then along with that, you now get 10 to 30 HP 5. So 30 HP 5 for 8 seconds. So you roughly get like around 50 HP in that time. Which is like a mini heal every time he uses it. So I suppose that's pretty alright. It's going to be interesting how well this is actually going to be, or how many people are going to level this because of it. But that's, for a later point to determine. Then we have Ardeo. Energy Surge. Increase the energy surge healing from 40 to 120 to 60 to 140 per enemy got hit. This is a revert, and I think this is really cool, and I'm happy because I like Ardeo. That's all I can say. So I'd actually be a bit annoying. She might actually get quite a fair bit of healing now. But she isn't exactly meta, so we'll see where this puts her. Baron Samedi. Vivid Gaze gets a 10% magical power scaling increase, which is barely more when you hit both beams. It's like 1.5% extra on the second beam. Surprising change, but like I'm not complaining. I like Baron Samedi, but I don't know where it's coming from really. I guess it's because he's just not really prominent as a mid, but then I always saw him more as like a solo or support anyway, so not entirely sure what's happening there, but then it's also just not enough to be an issue because this Vivid Gaze in late game isn't exactly scary. Most of the time you're looking more towards 2 as the main risk to you. Or the rest of the kit, really. Fenrir did not perform all too well lately, with the exception of, I think, Solo Troll, playing him in solo and competitive, actually. But he's super hard to play in solo. Like, props to Solo Troll for doing that. I was trying something with Solo Fenrir and it didn't go anywhere because it's actually really hard with his changed values. And now he got some changes. One of those is Unchained, getting 10 basic attack base damage across all ranks. I think this is going to make a difference, especially with him being able to clear a little bit better. Because they don't want to bring Fenrir support back, but they want to give him something. And I mean, this is going to work for jungle as well and everything. So that is giving him a bit of love. And Ragnarok gets a movement speed buff increase from 50% to 75%. But Ponbon said, due to diminishing returns, it works out to be more like 10% something-ish. So that's not going to be super insane. But I do think an increase to this is always significant because it is such an important ability for him. And there's so much mobility in the game now. So I think this is fair. I think Fenrir needs some love, so I'm fine with it. Hachiman, Eagle Eye gets his bonus damage changed. So instead of being like depending on range, that's completely wiped and it just gets buffed across the board. And is now depending on rank 10 to 30 bonus damage at any range. I think that's pretty huge, and I think I'm not quite happy with this because I think this range regulation was actually a fair mechanic. When you're laning against him as another ADC that doesn't have that range, I think it can be rather frustrating that he has this long range poke, especially if you ever get pressured out by him, and he can do this under tower. And increasing that damage even more, it doesn't seem like the right way to me personally. I mean, maybe ADC players see this differently, I'm not sure. But to me, it seems like it's gonna make it more frustrating to play against him more than anything. I don't know. I would have rather seen it like another nerfed, another buff to him in another place, like maybe to just his 2 or something, or his 3, just if you're going really aggressive. But this is what they're going for. I don't know. We'll see if it stays that way, or if this is going to make him overwhelming all of a sudden or something. Osiris gets a buff to Sickle Strike, increase the power scaling from 40 to 45%. This is just 5%, but keep in mind that he already has short cooldowns. And again, new Gladiator Shield could be very interesting for him in that regard, because you can really spam this ability throughout a team fight. And then a lot of the Afterlife gets a range increase on the leap from 55 to 65 units. And I just very recently experienced that I was like trying to leap on someone. And I'm very used to like assassin leaps that have different ranges. And I tried to leap with Osiris, and every time I just ended up jumping to shot. And I was just like, am I just stupid? Am I not aiming up high enough? Is that the problem? And now by the patch notes, I was informed that that was not the problem. The problem was that the range is just that short. So I think this increase is very much fair, especially considering it's an ultimate. Like, it shouldn't be that short, even though he is a warrior. But like, I think it's going to feel much better. It's not a massive AoE either, so I think this is fine. And then we have Circuit. Ambush, increased physical power scanning from 50% to 70%. Don't think this is going to make a difference in too many situations. Circuit, in most situations, will not engage with the ambush, but rather save that one as our escape, because in all honesty, it's the best escape tool of what she has most of the time. But when you do engage, you get some more damage. That's nice. And Cobra's Kiss, that's more important. Gets a decreased cooldown from 18 seconds to 16 seconds. So that's going to be relevant, both for Circuit support as well as for jungle. So we'll have to see how that plays out. They really don't want Circuit to ever be lower meta, I feel. Like, they say the queen of the SPL has fallen, but Circuit is like, she's been up there for so long. But I'm okay with this buff. Like, I don't think it's insane or anything. Again, one way we have to see how it plays out. The last buff, Varman, is so confusing to me. Now, like, you may know that I really like Varman. Like, it's one of my favorite gods to play. One of my favorite junglers, actually, to play. One of my favorite warriors to play. And I don't understand why this buff is happening. I think Varman is in a pretty good place between, like, his new shield and how the ult increases in speed and everything and blah, 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 blah. They're saying that their ult is too weak. And now they're decreasing the movement penalty for attacking, backpedaling, and strafing while by 20% while the ultimate is active. And their purpose, they say, is to encourage not building. Listen to that. Encourage not building Atalanta's bow or Frostborn hammer, Haste Katana or Frostborn hammer. And I'm like, why would you encourage not building that? It's if you are struggling to stick to an enemy with Varman, then maybe you need to build those. Maybe that's the purpose. Like, use the 3 to stall them. Use the 1 to knock them up before you go in the ultimate. So they have a very limited escape potential at that point. And if they still get away somehow, then I think that's fair, because his ult can already run you down so well if you can't create the distance immediately. And now you just get some more. You know, if you miss the first basic attack, it doesn't even matter. You can just go on. I think it's funny because this kind of encourages him to build Atalanta's bow more as well. Because if you snowball hard enough, you just get 1 kill in the ultimate, and then you have the Atalanta's bow effect afterwards. And you will definitely not need more than that between this effect and that. You will not need hastened, I think. Even after they nerfed Atalanta's now. And then, yeah. I don't know. Even the Glad Shield buff could kind of work for him. He has 3 abilities after all. So building high protections is also very rewarding. High physical defense has always been rewarding for Varman, so you get Glad Shield, Nemean, something else, like, I don't know, like Shifters maybe, or Void or something, and it's just gonna be very good, and then you set Atlantis. So I don't know why this change is happening. I don't think it's appropriate. I think it's too much, honestly. I think he's not bad enough to warrant this, but we'll find out. Yeah, I find that one strange, and I don't know. I would not blame anyone for being upset about this particular change. And that is it for these patch notes. I hope you enjoyed this. If you're new to this channel, feel free to click the sub button and maybe the bell. We're going to talk about Loki a lot this week. We're going to try out a lot of things in that regard, as well as some other stuff. Also going to talk on New World, by the way. And other than that, I hope to see you for the next one soon. Duke Sloth, out.